So the first one is Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert. I know many of you are nodding your head, love this book. I think this is a book that is well worth reading many times and a good one to actually own. So this one here, I am going to reread. This got me so excited about entering into my creative business in the early days. And it filled me with feelings of possibility rather than fear. So I'm going to have a reread of that, and I'm very lucky because Elizabeth Gilbert is actually coming to Adelaide early next year and I'm going to see her speak. So I want to read this before that. So that one there is always a good one. This one, Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. Again, another very well-known book. If you haven't read this, grab a copy of it. Order it from your library if you don't want to spend money. And just on that, I think a fantastic thing to do is to get a list maybe of 10 books, order them at your library now, and then you'll have things dropping into your hands all through the early part of next year as they come into the library, because most of these books you will have to wait for because they're popular and they're really good. So this one here is all about gathering inspiration from a multitude of sources and seeing the world through the eyes of an artist. And he talks about the fact that there really isn't anything original. What we're doing is actually mashing up and mixing up all sorts of things that already exist, and then in doing that, creating something unique. This is The Spark and the Grind by Eric Weil. I found this book particularly helpful when I was transitioning from being a hobby artist to being a business owner, because it talks about how you need the ideas, the inspiration, or the spark, as he calls it, but you also need discipline, grind, daily habits. And this book helped me to cultivate that balance. So this is a great one, particularly if you are getting started on selling your art, setting up an online shop and things like that. Isn't this a beautiful book? I have such fond memories of reading this last summer. This was my little splurge for myself for a Christmas present. And it's A Glorious Freedom by Lisa Congdon. I absolutely love Lisa. She's been a huge inspiration to me throughout my creative career. Creative career sounds a bit formal. Creative life, let's say that. This book, A Glorious Freedom, Older Women Leading Extraordinary Lives, is packed with stories about women that connected with their creativity later in life. And it's just so inspiring. If you ever have the feeling that it's too late to get started, read this book and you will feel differently. There's incredible women in this book, including people like Julia Child. I absolutely love her. There's Laura Ingalls Wilder, and it's funny because I'm actually named after the character Laura in the Laura Ingalls Wilder books. There's Cheryl Strayed, who wrote the book Wild, all sorts in there. Different it's like all sorts of different forms of creativity. So it's not just painters and artists, it's cooks and athletes and models and all sorts of people, celebrities and things. Wonderful book. Let's just talk briefly about magazines. So I kind of went off magazines for a while. I've just started buying them again. So I think that sometimes it can be hard to sort of justify spending money on magazines, but these days, the most beautiful magazines exist that have been put together with a lot of heart, and I feel like you can go back and reread them. They're almost like books. So here's a magazine that I am enjoying at the moment. This one is fairly new to me. It's called In Her Studio, Spaces and Stories of Creative Women. And inside, you'll get an insight into all sorts of different artists, studios, spaces and approaches to creativity. So you've got textile artists, painters, ceramics, all sorts in here. So I love that one. And I've got my old favorite here as well. I've mentioned this one many times on the vlog, but I really like it. It's the Flow magazine. I find that this one, it's got some fascinating articles, quite often some historical articles in there. It's got a really good mix of creativity, mindset, practical things, but also history, which I really like. So now I want to show you a few things that I don't have. So these are things that I might purchase because I quite like to have these books in my hand so I can refer back to them, or I might order them from the library. So the first one is called Conscious Creativity, and it's by Philippa Stanton. If you go over and have a look at her Instagram page, you'll probably know why I want to order this book. She does these beautiful flat lays, often on wooden panels, which I use for my art too. So I thought that this might give me some inspiration around how I present my creativity. But the book is also about how you connect with your creativity and how you approach things. So very interested in that one. So the book says, conscious creativity is about discovery, what inspires you to create, trying new methods and ideas to take your creativity further, and exploring how you see things and how this makes you feel. This book teaches you how to unlock your creative potential, see the beauty in the everyday, and cultivate a daily practice of meaningful, conscious creativity. So definitely want to take a look at that one. And it looks like an absolutely beautifully presented book too, with fantastic photography in there. So Lisa Congdon's new book is called Find Your Artistic Voice, The Essential Guide to Working Your Creative Magic. And I will read and enjoy pretty much anything that Lisa puts out because I find it very helpful. And I'm looking forward to that one because it's a big, juicy topic. Let's face it, the finding your creative style, creative voice is something that all of us are very interested in and always working at. So the last book that I would like to add to my book collection is something by Sabella Court, and I haven't quite made up my mind which one. I already have Gypsy, and I'm thinking about adding Bowerbird to my collection. So Sabella books are interior design books. They are absolutely breathtaking as far as the photography in them, and I find that they provide a lot of inspiration for my artwork. So I think it's good to look at books that are different. So you can have some painting books, some mindset books, and maybe some books that are just beautiful to look at. Could be interior design or gardening or something like that. So I am going to have a look at this one. I think Bowerbird, it says creating beautiful interiors with the things that you collect. That's the tagline. And I really like that idea of bringing in things that you collect. So it could be like feathers, branches, mementos from travel, those sorts of things into your interiors, but also then into your art. So that's the last book that I've got my eye on. I hope that you found this interesting and maybe you've got some ideas of things that you could add to your Christmas list, or maybe leave some hints around the place, or else get onto your library website and start placing holds. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope that you have a lovely week ahead and that you are enjoying this festive season so far.